Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you that I have two networks where I live. So I basically have a network for me, my internal network, and a guest network. So right now I'm connected to my guest network, which is another network name, and then the IP address of this network is 192.168.2.14 right there, as you can see. So I have two networks. So you have 192.168.2, that's the network ID number. So this network is number 2. So people from network 1, if it was 192.168.1, cannot communicate with this computer because they're not on the same network. And if I change my network, right now I'm going to go and change my Wi-Fi network to another one. So I'm connecting to that right now. The Cisco network, then the IP address is going to be different. Just going to go to CMD, and type in ipconfig again. And now the IP address is 192.168.1.11. so that's my LAN IP address. The subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. Default is 192.168.1. so 192.168.1.1 is the address that it goes to go to the internet. So I'm going to go back to the other one and check that out as well. Go back to my guest network. So I made a video about this a while back, but I didn't really show any clear demonstrations of it. But today I figured I'd make that video. So now I'm going to type in ipconfig again. And now, as you can see, the IP address is 192.168.2.144. Default gateway is 192.168.2.1. Okay, so that's where it goes. So that's the default IP for this router, right? So I can connect to the internet with this computer, and they're all connected to one main router, basically. Just search something and just show you that the internet is definitely working on both networks, even though they're different networks. And I will be going into that router and I'll show you what I did to it to give you a clearer idea. So I type in / 192.168.1.2.1 and press enter. I should be able to go into my router and I'll show you basically. Okay, now I'm in that router, which has a IP address of 192.168 0.2.1. So as you can see, it's right there. So I'm in this Cisco router, and all I had to do to enable this was go to DHCP server, which is right there, as you can see where my finger is pointing at, and you have to enable that. But if you want to use it as one network, then this must be disabled. But since I want separate networks, DHCP server is enabled, and the IP address is 192.168.2. so the other IP address that I have for my other router is 192.168.1, which I will show you also. And for that one, DHCP server is disabled because I'm using it with the same network for my main router. So this is the only thing you have to really change if you want to use different networks on one, let's say, broadband modem connected to a main router. And I'll illustrate that by showing you the picture. And basically that's how it is. So it's so they're the different networks, they're not the same, and they cannot connect to each other. However, you want to do this for a reason, because sometimes if you have a business or something, you know, you may want the accounting department to be separate from the sales department or something like that. Or if you're at home, you may have a network for yourself, you know, for your own self, and network for family members, and you may not want them to go into your network and mess around with anything. So that's how this part is. So I'm going to get out of it and show you the next part. Now I'm in my other network, which is my main network. So I have a different IP address for that router. It's not 192.168.2.1. This one is 192.168.1.195, and then I'm going to press enter, and now I could go in here and I'm going to show you the difference between the two. Now I'm in that router, and as you can clearly see, the IP address is 192.168.1.195, and people will say, well, you're showing your IP address. Well, you know what, this is a local area network IP address. So this is not my wide area network address or WAN network ID. So that this is only this can only be seen in my network, you know, it can't be seen anywhere else. But as you can see here, I disabled the DHCP server, and I did this because I wanted to be sharing my main router, the router that's connected to my broadband internet modem, and that is basically in the same network as that main router. So that's why I disabled DHCP server. If I enabled it and put in the same network ID, which was 192.168.1, then there'd be some conflicts, and I don't want to do that. There'd be a problem with my internet. So that's all you have to do if you want to use it in the same network. So having a different network, if I put something different, like here, let's say I put 192.168.4.1, let's say, then obviously that's a different network. So I have to change the DHCP server to enabled, and I have to connect my modem from the WAN port to the LAN port on the main router, right? The router that's connected to the modem, and the modem connects to the ISP or internet service provider. So that's how it works. So it's very simple. It's not overly complicated or anything like that. So you could just use that to create separate networks in your home, or if you have a business, you could do that also. If you're working in the enterprise environment or business environment, there are routers out there which will enable you to do all that on just one router. You know, a very expensive router, but this method can be employed by anybody as long as you have extra routers at home. So I have my main router, which is connected to my modem, and I had 2 extra routers. So my main router doesn't have Wi-Fi, so I wanted to get Wi-Fi, so I connected this modem right here to my main modem from LAN port to LAN port. As you can see, it's LAN to LAN, not WAN to LAN like when I enable this DHCP server. It has to be WAN port from your router to your main router. So that's, or you could connect it to a switch as well to your main router. So that would work. That would work as well. So that's all it is. So I hope I made this clear for people so they can understand it. It's not very complicated or anything. That's all you really have to know. So I'm back to my other router, the one with the network LAN network IT of 192.168.2.1. So as you can see, it's assigned a IP address here, which says 192.168.1.02. That's basically on my main router, and the subnet mask is that, and the default gateway is 192.168.1. That's where I connect to the internet through my main router, and the DNS is right there, as you can see. So it's basically 2 separate networks that are able to connect to the internet, but they're not able to share data with each other. So that's all it is.